I'm not a lawyer, but I just read the 13-page court doc regarding Simon Guobadia, Porsha Williams' husband. His request for citizenship and child. Let me recap the details for you. In June of 1986, he comes back to America on a 6-month visa, overstays his visa. In September of 1987, he gets arrested for bank and credit card fraud, and he pleads guilty to a felony offense. In January 1989, he's arrested for unauthorized use of a vehicle, and again arrested in May of 1990 for fraud. After that, immigration begins the removal process of Simon, but by January 1991, Simon has committed credit card fraud again.
Porsha Williams finds herself potentially entangled in legal trouble due to allegations against her husband, Simon Guobadia, less than 2 years into their marriage. Guobadia is facing accusations of fraudulent activities, with authorities reportedly investigating whether Williams had knowledge of his actions and potentially tried to conceal them. The situation has escalated dramatically, with Simon now facing the possibility of deportation and a permanent ban. Porsha is deeply embroiled in this ordeal, indicating that she may be grappling with the consequences for an extended period as the situation worsens. Porsha Williams and her husband are facing dire circumstances now that the authorities are involved. Speculation is rife that Porsha might be implicated in her husband Simon Guobadia's purported criminal endeavors, hinting at potential assistance in covering up his actions. The situation is rapidly intensifying, indicating that further complications may be imminent. This situation is undoubtedly overwhelming, but there's a lack of sympathy toward Porsha from many quarters, because they had previously cautioned her about Simon's questionable character. Despite these warnings, Porsha let her emotions override her judgment. Intriguingly, Simon's ex-wife, Fallon Guobadia, who was once a friend of Porsha's, may find some satisfaction in this dramatic twist of events. Just before Fallon's introduction to the show, Porsha had recently ended her relationship with her former fiancé and the father of her child, Dennis McKinley. She learned of his repeated infidelity, even during her pregnancy. As a reminder, Porsha and Simon first crossed paths while Simon was still married to her friend Fallon. Fallon first joined the show in 2020 as a friend, and according to reports at the time, Fallon is known around Atlanta as a socialite, and her husband, Simon Guobadia, is paid like Bentleys and private jets. As for how she fits into the group, well, right now she's friends with Porsha and Shamia. The rest of the ladies seem to like her, and she might accompany the girls on their upcoming trip to the Carolinas. Fallon claimed that Simon encouraged her to join the show, citing potential benefits for her spiritual well-being. However, this reasoning puzzled many, as the Real Housewives franchise isn't typically associated with spiritual growth. Some speculate that Simon may have meant it would aid in her personal development, but his intentions remain ambiguous. The circumstances do raise questions about Simon's intentions, considering his encouragement for Fallon to join the show, particularly since he was already financially secure. Nevertheless, Simon and Porsha developed a closer bond during their time on the show, despite Porsha still healing from her breakup with Dennis. Suspicions grew when Simon and Fallon quietly separated just a month after the Season 3 premiere of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Simon then filed for divorce on January 15, 2021, citing irreconcilable differences, a common reason among celebrities. However, just a week later, he withdrew the filing, indicating that he and Fallon were making efforts to reconcile and were determined to work on their relationship. However, this reconciliation attempt appeared brief, as only 5 days later, he filed for divorce once again, citing ongoing issues. Despite this, Porsha persisted in denying rumors of their split, maintaining that their relationship remained robust and dismissing skeptics as unhappy individuals.
I'm going to ask you this, and feel free to talk about it or for as much as you would like. There are rumors right now around your marriage with your husband Simon and what's going on with it. Do you want to address whether you guys have split up or you're still together? Would you like to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, that rumor came from a miserable person. So, but anyway, I'll entertain it only because it's a valid question.
Okay.
No, Simon and I, we go through our marital issues just like everyone else. Just let us go through our stuff.
As time passed, the inevitable truth emerged, and Porsha found herself forced to confront it. Simon took to Instagram to release a statement confirming their separation, in which he stated, "After a year and a half together, Fallon and I have made the mutual decision to end our marriage. Despite our willingness to be transparent, we respectfully ask for privacy at this time. Following the announcement, Porsha swiftly reached out to Simon via direct message, extending her support. She mentioned having heard rumors about Fallon cheating on him with another man, which prompted her outreach. However, it does raise questions why she contacted Simon instead of Fallon, particularly given Fallon's friendship with her. Without hesitation, Simon began making advances towards Porsha, expressing his desire to see her during his next visit to Atlanta. While Porsha was open to the idea, she firmly insisted on confirming his divorce from Fallon before progressing any further. Simon obliged, promptly sending her the paperwork, and once it was confirmed, they wasted no time in igniting their connection. In under 3 weeks following Simon and Fallon's divorce announcement, Porsha made her new relationship public, introducing her partner to the world. With this revelation, she made it clear that she and Fallon had never been friends, firmly distancing herself from any association with her ex-husband's former partner. She wrote, "Our relationship began a month ago. Yes, we are crazy in love. I know it's fast, but we are living life each day to its fullest. For all of you that need facts, I get the optics, but Simon filed for divorce from a previous marriage in January. I had nothing to do with their divorce filing. That's between the two of them. Fallon and I are not friends, and Simon's divorce has been settled. Relationship is a positive, loving step forward in everybody's lives." The situation certainly raises eyebrows, particularly since Fallon was initially introduced on the show as Porsha's friend. The timeline appears murky, with Porsha claiming to have slid into Simon's DMs the same day he announced his divorce, yet later stating they had been dating for a month when she made their relationship public. Getting engaged after just 1 month is already remarkably fast, but doing so with someone who was recently married to your friend adds another layer of complexity. The circumstances undoubtedly seem questionable, and the swift development of their relationship may leave some pondering the true nature of their connection. Given Simon's history of 3 divorces and infidelity, it's understandable why many question his suitability as a partner. His track record of having children with multiple women adds another layer of complexity. These factors, along with the swift progression of his relationship with Porsha, contribute to the skepticism surrounding their union. Fallon's response is quite understandable given the circumstances. Despite not extensively discussing the situation in public, the few times she did resulted in significant drama. One particularly memorable occasion was when she expressed disbelief that Porsha, whom she had never perceived as the type to steal someone's man, would become involved with Simon while he was still legally married to her. This only served to heighten the tension in an already complex situation. Do I feel like I trusted her enough? Sure, yeah, I didn't think she was the type of woman who would come in and plot on a woman's husband. Absolutely not. I did not get that at all from her at the time. She also claimed that Simon had told her while they were married that Porsha had slept with one of his cousins for Rolls-Royce. She said, "He told me that she slept with his cousin for the Rolls-Royce. So I just don't understand. How is it that I'm not even going to say leave a happy home because like I said, we had our things. But how is it you file for divorce from me for a woman you used to talk so much mess about and for someone who slept with someone from your family members?" Fans were eagerly awaiting the unfolding of this new storyline in the upcoming season of the show. However, Fallon chose to step away from the drama and left the show before the new season premiered. Despite speculations, she denied leaving out of fear, asserting that her decision to exit had been planned before the unfolding situation. This departure added another layer of intrigue to the evolving narrative. She said, "I wasn't running away," she noted, "and I don't think any of my followers who truly knew me would believe that I would run away for the show, for that. I dealt with a lot of harsh things on the show," Williams recalls to People, "and I've been there at the beginning of every season to film with the camera on, so no, this had nothing to do with that." She also said, "I'd already decided that it was the time for me to step away at least 6 months before I told any of the execs what I was going to do, and long before I even met my now husband." She says, "I was turning 40, I was hitting my 10-year mark on the show, and I really just had to reassess where I was and what I wanted totally out of my life. So that's where the decision came from." Against the warnings of fans, Porsha followed her heart and married Simon in November 2022. They marked the occasion with 2 opulent ceremonies, one in Nigeria, Simon's homeland, and another in the US. Their relationship appeared to be flourishing. as Porsha openly shared that they were actively pursuing parenthood, aiming for Simon's 6th child and Porsha's 2nd. Porsha appears poised to make her comeback in the upcoming season of Real Housewives, but with a notable alteration. She'll be adopting her new married name, Porsha Guobadia, rather than Porsha Williams. This choice underscores her dedication to her relationship with Simon and symbolizes a new beginning in her life. Fans are undoubtedly eager to witness how this fresh dynamic unfolds on the show.
Who said that? Porsha Williams coming back to Real Housewives of Atlanta? That's false. But Porsha Guobadia is in the building. See y'all. Mwah.
It seems the situation with Porsha's husband has escalated to a more troubling level, surpassing even his involvement with her friend shortly after their divorce. Now, there's a complicated issue with the U.S. government that could potentially result in his deportation. This is undoubtedly a grave and worrying development that may prompt Porsha to reconsider her participation in the show once again. It's crucial to clarify that being married to a U.S. citizen doesn't automatically shield someone from legal issues, particularly if there are accusations of fraudulent activity related to obtaining residency permits. If Simon acquired his temporary residency permit through questionable means, it could indeed endanger his immigration status, regardless of his marital status. These are grave allegations that could carry substantial repercussions for him and his family. Simon's troubles extend back to the 80s, and while he may have believed he had escaped consequences, Uncle Sam had different intentions. He's now confronting a multitude of charges that cast doubt on the likelihood of him obtaining U.S. citizenship. Court records unveiled his troubled past, highlighting several unsuccessful efforts to attain naturalization. Despite being notified of the grounds for his rejections, his track record of fraud and identity manipulation, Simon persisted in seeking citizenship, compounding his legal troubles. The documents disclosed Simon's arrival in the U.S. in August 1982 on a visitor's visa. However, complications arose when he exceeded his authorized stay while attempting to obtain a legal extension. Confronted with the imminent risk of deportation, he opted for voluntary departure, packing his belongings and leaving in December 1985, approximately 3.5 years after his visa had lapsed. Simon succumbed to the appeal of the U.S. and returned just 6 months later, this time on another visitor's visa with a validity of 6 months. However, history repeated itself as he overstayed once more. But this time, matters took a darker turn as Simon became entangled in bank and credit fraud, landing himself in legal trouble with the authorities. He didn't refute the charges, taking responsibility for his actions and pleading guilty. Despite his previous difficulties, one might anticipate someone in Simon's situation to keep a low profile. However, in January of 1989, he found himself in handcuffs once again, this time for unauthorized use of a vehicle. Fast forward 4 months to May 19, 1990, and Simon was in trouble yet again, facing fraud charges. Trouble seemed to shadow him persistently, with his extensive immigration record doing little to dissuade him from engaging in felonious activities. It appeared as though he was amassing felonies like infinity stones. Despite facing immigration scrutiny following his fraud incident in May 1990, Simon remained undeterred from involving himself in further shady dealings. Just 8 months later, in January 1991, he resumed his illicit activities, orchestrating another credit card scam. Compounding his problems, in April 1991, an immigration judge ruled for his deportation, resulting in Simon being physically expelled and deported from the U.S. by March 1992. In '88, Simon craftily altered his identity and entered the Special Agricultural Worker SAW program under a different name. Intriguingly, he conveniently neglected to disclose his criminal record during the application process. This scheme proved effective, leading to the acquisition of a temporary resident permit, subsequently upgraded to permanent resident status. Adding to his fortune, he received his permanent residency card in April 1992, merely 3 weeks after his alternate identity faced deportation. Armed with this prized possession, he seamlessly re-entered the U.S. without a hitch. Up until December 2016, Simon's life had been relatively stable. When he made the decision to pursue naturalization, he likely felt confident, having spent about 20 years in the U.S. with what seemed to be a clean record, at least on paper. The government didn't hold back. They delivered a clear no to Simon and rejected his application. They cited his unlawfully obtained temporary resident status as the basis for their decision. It must have been a stark reality check for Simon, who likely thought he had discovered a loophole to protect himself for years. Despite this setback, he persisted and didn't give up just yet. 4 years later, in December 2020, Simon made another endeavor at naturalization, progressing as far as the interview stage. He probably held high hopes, believing the second attempt would prove successful. However, the government remained resolute, denying him once more due to his dubious permanent residency status. This time, there was a definitive rationale for their decision: the deceptive ploy with the SAW program. By assuming a different identity, Simon had finagled his way into temporary residency, conveniently concealing his checkered past and legal entanglements. Mr. Simon's determination is truly noteworthy. Despite facing numerous obstacles, he persisted in pursuing his goal of naturalization. In October 2022, just a month before marrying Porsha, he once again petitioned for a hearing to contest the denial. Despite the government's unwavering stance and reaffirmation of their decision, Simon remained steadfast and refused to concede defeat. In March 2023, Simon made yet another effort, submitting another plea to reverse the denial and secure naturalization. Once more, the response was a firm rejection. Simon had plenty of chances to reassess his strategy, but it seems he either failed to seek the counsel of an immigration lawyer or received inadequate advice from his legal team. Nevertheless, with the repeated denials, the situation seemed poised for disaster. When seeking citizenship, it's widely known that officials rigorously scrutinize your residency history. Therefore, it's hardly shocking that the government uncovered Simon's identity switch and his deceitful omissions regarding his criminal record. His attempts to deceive the government are evident. Consequently, his aspirations for citizenship are now virtually dashed, and deportation looms as a genuine possibility at this point. Simon's difficulties have undeniably compounded Porsha's distress. Rumors suggest she's utterly devastated by the situation, and it's understandable. Who wouldn't be? Just as they were contemplating expanding their family, this bombshell drops. With another season of Real Housewives on the horizon, Porsha undoubtedly hopes to avoid this drama becoming fodder for the other ladies. However, there's potentially even more cause for concern. According to an insider, the government has purportedly initiated an investigation into the situation, with Porsha allegedly being questioned by the police. According to insiders, the police are now collaborating with immigration services to probe into Simon's purported double life and identity fraud. Furthermore, another source implies that authorities suspect Porsha may have been aware of her husband's false identities and could have been assisting him in concealing the situation, instead of fulfilling her civic duties as a citizen by reporting it to the proper authorities. As Simon grapples with the looming possibility of deportation, the status of any charges against Porsha remains uncertain. Nonetheless, anticipation for the upcoming season of Real Housewives is palpable, and viewers, myself included, are eagerly awaiting how this situation will unfold. Fans have been expressing their astonishment and leaving various comments, eagerly anticipating the drama that is bound to unfold. How do you think Porsha would handle the possibility of ending up in jail? Join the conversation and let us know your thoughts below.